gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's May 20th, 2022. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, presented as always by Life Wallet, where the time is now to take charge of your personal health. And Matt, I'm excited this morning because we have some actual football to talk about a little bit. Mario Cristobal spoke relatively extensively yesterday afternoon about a lot of different topics that I thought we would touch on this morning's show. And the one thing that I thought was really, really interesting was he called this the most important time of the year. And he said because of the training that's taking place, because of the nutrition that's taking place, getting these players ready for the season. And then, of course, there's the big one, which is they got to stay out of trouble with all that free time on their hands. So let's start off with that today. Your thoughts? You know, you got 12 football games coming up in the fall. Is the months of May, June, and July the most important time of the year?
I mean, obviously not, but for Mario Cristobal, he thinks every day is the most important day of the year, and he thinks every month is the most important month of the year, and he thinks every time of the year is the most important time of the year. There's other than July, when he's, maybe takes a half day off for vacation, like there's no stop for Mario Cristobal, and it's a throwaway line. It's the most important time of the year. It's nice to put it in a headline, get fans riled up, but no, obviously, the Clemson week is the most important week of the year, and then the following week is the most important week of the year, and then the following week after that's the most important time of the year. Like there's many, many, many times that are the most important times of the year. And it's a nice throwaway line because, of course, this is sort of what he's trying to emphasize is this is the time of year where you don't see everything that goes into making the team. And to me, the most, I guess the what he said that struck me the most was sort of something you don't think about, right? What you think about this time of the year is getting bigger, faster, stronger, weight room. In the old days, Willis McGahee used to attach a car to his waist and drag it around the community. Guys would run up the hill at Tropical Park and throw up. That was the rite of passage. Like I guess if you're a frat brother on your initiation, that was sort of the rite of passage for first-time Hurricanes, was just puking all over the hill over there at Tropical Park, which is why I never go to Tropical Park, by the way. You can't pay me enough money to put my hand in the dirt at Tropical Park anywhere, okay? Somewhere there's Frank Gore puke and there's Ed Reed puke, and it's worse than a landfill. Okay. Anyway, that's besides the point. I got off on my DNR early. So yeah, the most important part that he said to me wasn't about bigger, faster, stronger, blah 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 blah. Facilities. We already knew about that. What he said that most coaches don't talk about. He talked about how there are new guys coming in and that they need to buy in, and that it's all about the culture. And he really didn't talk about that much. He talked about other stuff way more, but that's something most coaches in the first year don't talk about. We've heard a million coaches come through here in the last 20 years for me and 85 years for you covering this team. And what they always talk about is bigger, faster, stronger, the off season, getting in the weight room. The strength coach is going to turn this team into whatever. What you haven't heard them say is, hey, there's a bunch of new guys that just showed up on campus and they need to understand this is a team. And this is a culture we're trying to build. And you've heard other coaches say culture, but you haven't heard it said like Mario sort of did say it. And what he said to that point was I'm trying to find it in here. He said 7-5 is not the standard. We have to look ourselves in the mirror, blah, 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 which everyone will say that. But then what he said the neat thing is your culture gets really strong this time of year. With team activities, you start forming relationships. You have new guys coming in the building, have to get those new guys going in the same direction as everybody else. That's really nothing that I've heard another coach say. And you talk about coach speak all the time. And we've said this before. When Mario Cristobal speaks, again, like you can tell he believes what he's saying. He's not spouting,
Oh no, he believes every bit of it. It's all part of his program.
So when he said that, I mean, that sort of struck me as something different, not the same spiel everyone else has always said. Regardless of how much Mario Cristobal believes the same spiel everyone else already said, it's still the same spiel everyone else has already said. That's something that we haven't heard very much here, which is, hey, we got new guys in the building. It's not about them just being bigger, faster, stronger. It's they got to understand this is not just come in and, just sort of do whatever, work out and go home and play some cards with your friends. This is, you have to understand, we're trying to build a team, and this is team first, and this is not about you, which I thought was interesting.
You jumped a little ahead on me there, but I didn't interrupt you. I was going to say that contrary to your contrarian point of view, that there were some additional interesting things that he said. And yes, the team building, I totally agree with. And here's why. All right. I believe, and I've lost count, I'm not going to tell you this is an exact number, ballpark 20, 21 guys that were on this team, I guess we'll say at the start of the season last year, are gone. They've had incredible roster upheaval, an absolutely pathetic commentary on the talent acquisition that was taking place in this program for several years. I mean, seriously, I think like 21 guys are off the roster. It's a quarter of the roster has exited, and I'm not talking about graduation. Okay, I'm talking about flaming out. I'm talking about transfers, talking about not being good enough. I'm talking about, in a couple cases, behavioral issues. That is a colossal mess, folks, okay? We're not putting a happy face on that, but it's in the past now. They're gone. Okay, in addition, you've had, I believe the number is 11 transfers that have been brought in here. And so this is a roster that has really, you could say, been transformed, changed, rebuilt. You can use whatever word you want.
What number of transfers are you given, by the way?
I just said 11. Am I right? I'm right? Isn't it 11?
Left that came in. How many do you think left?
I think altogether something like 21 or something. Or there have been like 21 departures, I believe.
Well, there's been 18 since September, and they brought in 11 transfers. So you're not far off. Yeah,
I'm pretty close, and I think it might be more than 18. But anyway, let's not argue about that. That's a waste of time.
Never a waste of time to argue. What?
No, but I'm pretty sure the number is at least 20.
I literally just added it up since Kylian Herbert left in September. I literally just added it up. Okay,
and you got to 18. Okay, well, there's a few guys that might not be on there yet that we think are going to be.
Oh yeah,
gone.
Right.
The Isaiah Walker, Tyler John. Those.
Actually, it's 17, including Nelson Foley, who's not really a scholarship guy.
Well, he was though. He was a scholarship guy, and there's a couple guys that are not yet in the portal.
So you're looking ahead. Yeah, by the end of when everything's done and said, they'll probably
it'll probably be 20. Okay, that's what I was saying. So you just wasted a minute of everybody's time being contrary
numbers
without just accepting the fact that I was pretty darn close because I had done my homework on it.
Lucky guess.
It's just that the number's not set in stone yet. I think it's going to end up being 2021. But anyway, all right. Here's my point. My point is the roster's turned over. It's distinctly different than what it was a year ago. This is a different football team. And yes, they do need to bond. They do need to connect with each other. And yes, these team building activities that are coming up the next few weeks are significant. They ride in the bus together. They go out in the community. They work with kids together. They have a good time doing so. It's a very important community service. It gets the kids out into the community and to be seen in a different light. It's win-win-win for everybody involved, both the kids and also the youngsters that they're touching when they're out in the community. So what Mario's talking about is he wants this team to start building some personal chemistry in addition to getting better physically. So I totally am on board with what he's saying there. The training, nutrition, obviously that's a year-round kind of project. Maybe there's a little coach speak in there, but you put it all together, and yes, this is a very important time. Nothing is more important, like you said, than the actual games themselves. Okay, the other thing that Mario talked about, he's starting to let the cat out of the bag a little bit on the facility plans that are taking place behind the scenes. They have not made a formal announcement as of yet. I have seen the current renderings and plans. They are unbelievable, folks. I mean, unbelievable. Mario is not kidding when he says that Miami will have a facility that is as good as any in the country. I really believe that will be the case. But they're not ready to release the drawings yet because they're still being fine-tuned. But here is what I will tell you. I think I've mentioned it on the show before, but since it came up today, I'll tell you what I know is in the plan about to take place. Okay, those of you familiar with the athletic complex where the track is, which is out close to Hurricane Drive, Santa Mara out there, the track's going to go bye-bye. It's going to be relocated, okay? I'm guessing over by where the intramural fields are on campus, but I'm not sure that's been totally finalized yet. But the track is going to be relocated, and that is going to become a practice field over there. Okay, the middle practice field now will stay in existence. Now, the practice field on the east side of the complex is going to become a half practice field because the indoor practice facility that was just recently built is going to be extended out to a full football field size. So I guess it's got to grow about 40, 50 yards. So that's going to come out into the current field on the east side of the property, and it will connect to the new facility that is going to be built. There's a little canal there. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do about that, but the new building will be built on that property on the east side of the existing Green Tree practice field complex, and it will be beautiful and very significant. And I got to think relatively soon we're going to see renderings on that because there's a lot of recruiting visits taking place in the month of June, and I got to believe that they're going to want those out for all those kids coming on campus in June. So we'll see what happens there, how that develops. That's what's going on. Mario calls it a different level facility, and he says it screams of investment in the student athlete. So great things going on at the U, and it was nice to hear Coach talk about that stuff. All right, there's so much more for us to touch on today, Matt. But before we do, I thought let's hear from our friends at Life Wallet.
I will be your shield in the fiercest battle. I'll defend you.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Cleveland Reed, and I play offensive line, and my job is to protect. I protect my family with Life Wallet. How about you?
Of course, I got Life Wallet. It's the best way to protect my family.
Long as we go together, we'll die, we'll never be a light. Couldn't let the darkness try you ever. Truth in my word, you I lie to never.
To protect you and your family, get Life Wallet now.
Life Wallet. Saving time, saving lives.
I've been hearing that Life Wallet's going to be expanding their wings all around the country, or at least in other pockets. It's not going to just be a Miami NIL, so that'll be interesting. We'll talk about that down the road. But a couple more things I want to talk about today, Matt. First, let me touch on a couple recruiting stories that we have on the website, and the first involves a 2024 kid from Albany, Georgia, by the name of Cam Davis. He is presently committed to Florida State, but that has not stopped Miami from going after him. The Canes are very actively involved and engaged with him. He's a two-sport athlete. He's going to try to play baseball in college as well as football. And the baseball staff is involved in his recruitment. The football staff is involved in his recruitment. So you get brought up to speed today on the recruitment of Cam Davis. It's kind of interesting considering he's committed to Florida State, but Miami has two coaching staffs actively involved in his recruitment. And then we also have a story on another Georgia kid by the name of Bryce Thornton. He will visit in June. He is a safety, so we bring you up to speed on what's going on with Bryce Thornton. But Matt, in addition today, I thought we would take a few minutes and comment. It's not hurricane news of the day, but it is unquestionably news of the day. And that is the whole brouhaha taking place with Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, and as an extension, John Ruiz, because Nick Saban made the strategical mistake of challenging Life Wallet activities on on television yesterday. He was at a fundraiser in Birmingham and decided to, do a little soliloquy on his thoughts on the transfer portal and NIL, really NIL, and the whole thing, and starts trying to suggest that Alabama, didn't buy any players last year, and that Texas A&M bought every player. And then he throws out that John Ruiz spent $400,000 on basketball players. Talking about Nigel, and and then Jimbo Fisher calls a press conference to just totally undress Nick Saban. Matt, I think these guys are embarrassing themselves. For starters, if anybody, thinks that players haven't been being paid at Alabama for a long time, I think they're, they're kidding themselves. Now it's just in a different way, and I get that Nick Saban doesn't believe in the outrageous payments and disparity amongst his players with NIL. And I get that Texas A&M did get very active in NIL, which they did, but NIL is legal. Okay, so why is Nick Saban calling out Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, throwing Miami into the fray with his comments about basketball NIL, and creating this total crap storm for the entire day yesterday?
Well, listen, I'm not going to get inside Nick Saban's head, but he's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. Whatever he's doing, he thinks it'll have a benefit for Alabama and probably in recruiting, and by throwing shade on other people, or maybe it's just frustration. It's one or the other. But what's interesting to me, and you say, okay, everyone knows players get paid off. I mean, I remember a story from way back when about, and this is so typical, like there was two coaches. It involved Wayne Bowe. I can't remember which high school he went to, but the story I remember hearing way back when was like one coach was caught like trying to pay off Wayne Bowe. Another coach from another school saw it, but then didn't report that coach because then they'd get turned in for something else they did. Like, this is par for the course. But with that said, I've also heard numerous times that these assistant coaches and boosters try to leave the head coach in the dark. A lot of times, if you ask the head coach, for instance, and there's been documentation of this actually from some of these illicit boosters, if you ask the head coach, do you know someone, I'm not going to say real name, but do you know so-and-so who has actually been paying off players, let's say, the head coach would legitimately be like, I have never heard of that guy. And it's true. Like, they're doing it behind the scenes, but they're trying to...
It's true.
Huh?
I wouldn't say it's true.
Okay, well, I think in some cases it is. They're trying to keep the head coach protected. And guess what? If they do that, it's called being smart because it's called institutional control, Gary. If there's one rogue agent at a school, and we've had some at Miami where assistant coaches have been punished, but those assistant coaches did not go up the chain of command to the head coach, or the whole program would be in major, major trouble. It's called being smart. And if you think a head coach wants to know who his bag men are that are paying off players, you do not. If I was the head coach of any school, I'd be like, I don't want it. You do whatever you got to do. I don't ever want to hear another word about it. And that's the way these head coaches operate. It's called being smart.
You can believe that if you want.
Yeah, I do believe that because guess what? When one guy goes down, Gary, if they have a text trail, email trail from the head coach, the program is done for. They're getting no recruits for 5 years.
All right. Here's what I think. I think Nick Saban has had his way for a very long time, and I think NIL levels the playing field because now the Miamis of the world, the Texas A&Ms of the world can all do their thing, and it's legal. And everything that's taking place at Miami is legal. John Ruiz's NIL program is phenomenal. People have been annoyed at me for talking about it for the last 4 months, whatever, because some people have biases against John Ruiz. I saw the brilliance in this thing from the first day I checked it out. And when it came up, I didn't know what to think. I went to John Ruiz's house. I sat down with John Ruiz. I went to his office several times. I saw the program in action. I've seen his interactions with the kids. I'm not saying there's not a little show business involved sometimes. There absolutely is. He's having the time of his life. I mean, he's sparring with Nick Saban on Twitter. I mean, what is better than that? Like, you can focus on the $28 billion that he may have made yesterday. Needling Nick Saban on Twitter, I'm not going to say it brings him as much pleasure as the $28 billion because I don't know if anything could. But I mean, you can tell he's enjoying the fight. He's enjoying the battle. And look, Miami has benefited greatly from everything that's been done in NIL. And Nick Saban's rattled, clearly rattled. And, by going on these rants, I think he's just showing his frustration. I think he sees the playing field leveling in the final years of his career. And he wants to play for national titles every year and win national titles. And it's not going to be as easy now with all these other teams able to get better players as well. And he lost to Texas A&M last year as well. And now Texas A&M is getting better.
There's a huge major fallacy in your whole argument, but you can finish it if you want to. I'll tell you the fallacy.
No, you can interrupt me and say what you think is the major fallacy, and then I will shoot it down. Go ahead.
Okay. John Ruiz, you keep mentioning him. He.
How can you not mention him? He's everybody he's the talk of the country.
I can't even get a word in.
I was talking to a coach today at another school, Matt, who's telling me that he's hearing that John Ruiz is going to get involved all over the country at other schools.
Okay, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fallacy in your argument, which you apparently don't really distract from.
Bring it. Let's go. Bring it.
Do you agree that John Ruiz plays by the rules? He stresses it all the time. He's a lawyer. Do you agree? Legally, does he do everything up by the book?
I think that this has been, I think
yes or no, Gary. I'm saying it's yes. I can't believe
I'm not going to. I don't want to say that there haven't been a mistake or two made along the way. There might have been. I mean,
no, but he's trying to play by the rules.
This has been a moving target. I don't want to misrepresent.
Let me refresh it.
Here's what I think. I think Miami's NIL is the prototypical NIL. I think it is now being run. I think it's being run by the book.
He's not trying to give deals to high school kids and give bags of money to high school kids. That's what I'm getting at. Correct? You agree with that?
I agree with that. Yes.
Okay.
Guess what? He's avoiding bidding wars for high school kids.
Correct.
Okay.
Their bidding wars are actually illegal by the NCAA rules for high school recruits who have not played in college yet. It's literally illegal to get the program in trouble. The NCAA sent out a letter a week or two ago reiterating to colleges, if you have boosters doing this, you will be in trouble when we get our task force on your campus, whatever.
Let me tell you something. He supposedly was offered $100,000 more by another school than he ended up doing a deal with John Ruiz.
Who were you talking about? I didn't hear you.
Nigel Pack, the basketball guy.
Yeah, well, that's fine. But he's already in college. I'm talking about recruiting now, okay? Because that's what you were talking about. You're talking about leveling the playing field. I assume you mean in recruiting, right? Because that's how everyone gets great players. Transfers are going to be free agents, but whatever. Leveling the playing field when it comes to college football is about recruiting.
High school kids know that if they come to Miami, there's an NIL opportunity.
Okay, so here's my point. You can't. John Ruiz will not make them an offer in high school. He will not even give them an amount of money in high school. They'll just know, okay, this guy got that much money. I read this. This guy got that much money. I read that. Whatever it is, and players that the kid may talk to will say, yeah, 8 of my buddies have $400,000 from whatever. But there's nothing that they can do. So in reality, the fallacy of your argument is there is still a need for bagmen, Gary, for Alabama and these SEC schools, because that's the only real promised money any recruit's going to get right now. That's legit, because an SEC booster can say, hey, when you sign, I'll give you $1 million as a contract, but they won't actually write it or sign anything, because then the school will get in massive trouble. So
yeah, but you know what, Matt? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying people won't cheat anymore, but they don't.
Well, that's the fallacy is the SEC still has the same bagmen in place who can still affect recruiting by handing out $1,000 bills and $1 million bills, which I don't think any of those exist. But you know what I'm saying? Like Miami is under the microscope. In Alabama, if you write a story in Alabama, in Tuscaloosa, if you're a hard-hitting journalist in Tuscaloosa and you find out Alabama's cheating and you write that story, guess what happens to you, Gary?
You better move out.
Your house is burned down, your car tires are slashed, and you'll never have a job in Alabama ever again. Maybe nowhere in the South, in the South of whatever. I mean, all
right, well,
your career's over. In Miami, hold on. If Miami, this is my DNR. In Miami, if you find out Miami's cheating and you write that story and they're doing something illegal, you get an award. You get a Pulitzer. Just ask, Miami fans know what's happened. Dan Le Batard, he got awards for that. So did that whole cast and crew back in the day. They found out Miami was cheating. Oh my God, they got awards. In Alabama, they murder you.
Somebody told me today that Nevin Shapiro's making a movie. Somebody told me today Nevin Shapiro's making a movie. They asked me if I wanted to talk to Nevin Shapiro. I said no, thank you. But anyway, okay, you're not shooting down anything I said. Okay, so I don't know.
Just tell me the
I don't know why you didn't
even the
shoot down
playing field.
anything. Okay,
the playing field still has bad acting characters in other places where they're go scot free.
I didn't say that I never said there weren't bad characters at other places.
You
So
said
you're
NIL
not
levels the
shooting
playing
down.
field in recruiting, and I'm saying it does to an extent if the recruit
Okay.
believes they'll get that deal, or they go to the SEC where they still get money in hand and get promised the same deal hypothetically.
Okay, here's the thing though. Like, they don't have to cheat the way they cheated in the past because now they can do it legally.
They can't do it legally. You're wrong.
They can't. Well, they can do it. All right, they can give the appearance of doing it legally. Okay, they can wink, wink, wink. Hey, man, all right, look at our NIL. Trust me.
By the way,
You'll get your $500,000. Trust me.
Gary, if your friend tells you he's gonna give you $100,000 2 years from now, do you believe him, or do you believe him when he hands you $100,000 that day?
Yeah,
what do you believe?
They can't talk to you until you sign, okay? But they will give you the money. Trust me. I mean, who the hell knows what they're saying to these kids? But
street agents are real and they still exist. NIL did not get rid of street
100%.
It just created new street agents who are now lawyers. That's all, and they can't touch high school kids.
Yes, there is no doubt they exist. But listen, I think the bottom line of all this is Nick Saban's rattled. Okay, he doesn't have the domain to himself anymore, but he's making a mistake because he's calling out other coaches in their programs that know how he has operated over the past 10, 15 years. Okay, that is a huge mistake. Okay, and Jimbo Fisher called a press conference today and outright said that.
Well, do you remember Jimbo Fisher from that crazy rant he gave the end of last year? It was just based on that, where Jimbo's like, we don't cheat. We would never cheat.
He suggested very strongly that everybody that has worked for Nick Saban knows exactly what's been going on. Like, he really shoved Nick Saban back into his place. And Nick might want to be quiet, okay? Just do your thing, Nick. Yeah, I'm going to give you advice right now. I know you watch the show every day.
We don't know anybody who worked for Alabama, right, Gary? We don't know any coaches that worked at Alabama, so.
Yeah. Well, Nick has Miami envy, so he watches this show every day to keep up on what's going on at Miami. When he wakes up and gets himself ready for the drive to the office, he turns on Good Morning CaneSport. So, Nick, I'm going to speak directly to you, buddy. You might want to stop talking, okay? You might want to just leave the subject alone. You have one of the best programs in the country. Do your thing. I'm sure your collective will do fine. I'm sure you could even find yourself a John Ruiz up there in Tuscaloosa. You've given them a lot of pretty good years. They feel like they owe you a lot. You might want to stop making public comments, and you might want to stop going after other programs, because I think it was made clear by Jimbo today, they're going to come right back at you, and it's not going to be pretty. So Nick,
your thought, he had no thought process before this. Hey, I'm going to do this. You think it's a spur of the moment? Nick Saban, the greatest coach of all time in college football. I hate to admit it. You think he just spur of the moment said this stuff, Gary?
I think he did not spur of the moment. He's sitting at that booster event in Birmingham. He's trying to raise money so that they donate to the damn collective. That's what he's really doing.
He has the whole thing's a joke. And guess what? The more other coaches come against him, the more money they're going to be raising. He's a genius.
That might be true. That could be true. But if I were him, I'd shut up. Seriously. Like, what went on yesterday did not help Nick Saban at all.
Alabama against the world? I've heard that before, but somewhere else.
It didn't help him. It did not help him that Jimbo Fisher called a press conference and just, like, undressed him. I mean, if you guys haven't seen this, you guys watching the show, if you have not seen Jimbo Fisher's press conference from yesterday, go search it online and watch it, okay? It was unbelievable. It was an Academy Award presentation, in my opinion. It was as epic of a play as I've seen a coach make in a very long time. And I think he got his point across, Matt. I really do. I think he got his point across. All right. That's enough Alabama, Texas, and A&M talk. That's going to do it today for Good Morning CaneSport. We thank you so much, as always, for making us part of your day. We'll see what happens as today and the weekend go on. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll see you next time, everybody.